I'm going to bring to you a number of different stories that I believe have a connection. So we have a geomagnetic storm happening now, or recently, at least a G1 moderate geomagnetic storm after a coronal hole, of course, connected with the Earth's magnetic field with that fast solar wind stream. As we're seeing this, we see this historic storm that is in the news known as Hurricane Michael, and we're also seeing the Dow Jones drop 800 points. And so there are connections between the sun's behavior and some of the wild things that we see either in the stock market or the weather itself. So we see a fall of 880 or 832 points, and that is the biggest fall since February 1st. Let's look at the latest with Hurricane Michael. It's now making landfall, and right now it's about 2:42 my time in the mountains in Colorado. Actually, about an hour ago, at least, it started to connect with land. It's near Mexico Beach, 77,000 households without power. So it's at a category 4. These are only so common. And so we're seeing an increase in these types of events. What's really driving it? And also keep this in your consciousness when people talk about certain theories about manufactured weather. We also need to look at natural phenomena as well. You shouldn't just look at one possibility. And then where does panicking take us? See, I'm not here to sell you something, but it's also something that I would recommend to be prepared. And a lot of us, honestly, we're in different stages of being able to have all the things that we need. First and foremost, try to be a good person. Try to be a better person this year than last year. And it's not easy. And sometimes it takes some time for us to see those things. But I think people have forgotten some basic things about real civility. We live in this world of problem, reaction, and solution. I'll get back to our main topic, but they help create the problem. They help amp people up through the mainstream media and the manufactured events. And of course, there's going to be an angry society. Humanity isn't really well at this time. So what is the connection here with the sun? What is the connection here with potentially other technologies being used? And how many people out there know that those two can be combined? That there could actually be some sort of use of technology and there can be a large solar event? Or there could be a timing when they know we're in a solar minimum, and that coronal hole comes around as the sun rotates every 27 days. There is a level of predictability of when there's going to be a geomagnetic storm when we go into a solar minimum, and we're in a solar minimum now. But the greater reality that a lot of people don't understand is that our climate is changing, has been changing, other things are changing as a result, and these things may also be influencing the die-off factor that we've seen with fish, that we've seen with birds. And that's not to discount other possibilities. But the other people that are talking about the other possibilities, including directed energy weapons, are still discounting the overall effect and influence of the sun. Another example, I live here in Colorado, and we had a major wildfire nearby, several. And then at one point, we had the wildfire map of all the different fires at the same time in Colorado, and things were looking pretty damn scary. Now, as we go into a solar minimum, some believe that there are influences that can contribute to drought-like conditions. And so that's something that people may not know. And we're in this period in which we're dealing with those challenges. So let's continue looking, and whether you're religious or not, there is a place for prayer for those people that are being affected, that are in these regions. It seems like just yesterday we were looking at Hurricane Irma, and we are seeing this. And still, a lot of people are going to use this for their own political agenda, and a lot of people are very political about the climate issue. And that's also very controversial material. But they still discount some of the natural factors over climate. In some cases, both sides are discounting the sun's influence over weather patterns. And it's really only been so long they've had satellites up there, and certain SOHO satellites, where they've been able to study the sun on a certain level. And they're still coming up with new theories and models. But ultimately, the wise scientist is the one that understands that they know really little about the deep level prediction of the sun's behavior and cycles. It's still something that they are working to refine. But for man to be so arrogant that celestial factors, and we're not calling them gods or goddesses, celestial factors, realities, that stuff doesn't impact our world, even for the religious folks, who are they to say that God isn't working through the behavior of the sun, through the ways in which God works according to their orthodox religions? So even people that are Christians are missing the ball to a certain degree. So with regards to the sun's behavior, whether someone's coming from the scientific perspective or the religious or something else, there's something to see here that a lot of people are not while they're looking at the disasters down on the ground. Why is it relevant? It's important to realize that as we go into solar minimum, we can see more of this in the next couple of years. As the Earth's magnetic field gets weaker, as the overall heliosphere around our solar system gets weaker and more cosmic rays are coming into our solar system and affecting our planet, and in some cases down to the ground. Most people don't even know what cosmic rays are, nor how that impacts mental health, and I think can influence greater levels of suicide in certain areas of geography where there's low magnetism, and other areas can cause other things. And who knows? Perhaps there's some positive benefits that I'm not aware of. Perhaps other things are shifting, but I'm not a new ager. But I do lean towards the spiritual. And there are things that are taking place on a level and for reasons that we may not really understand or know at this point. And keep that in your mind as we look at all these different articles. So this is happening now. Number of households without power is now up to 118,000. That's more than a quarter of the total customers in the service area. So this is just early in the reporting at this moment that I bring you this story. There's also going to be another geomagnetic storm that's going to be possibly coming in a few days from additional solar wind coming in from the sun. See, the world's a mysterious place. The universe itself has its beauty and it has its ugliness. But I believe the beauty is in the discovery of the elements of how nature really works. And I think in this world of the illusion, it's kind of like the nothingness from the never-ending story that has its fair amount of symbolic meaning. But it's like in the nothingness, there's no imagination, there's no creativity. It's the world of idiocracy. You know, and that whole thing where, like, you know, his horse is dying, that's like representative of civilization or Western society and society becoming sick, you know, and people losing hope and the nothingness coming and taking that hope and then getting its strength from it. But it really was about, you know, creating that sense of hopelessness in the people. And right now there's a lot of that. Right now there's a lot of the spirit of the nothingness. And I'm here to tell you that, you know, I think there's a lot of testing going on. People need to be looking a little bit beyond the veil of what they think is reality. You know, a lot of people just like to run with these stories and go biblical, biblical, biblical. Right? Well, things are so biblical and we're so close to judgment per se. Do they really think that they're on the right side of God? And in some cases, the answer is yes, despite the propaganda that they're putting. And then other people are looking at them going, wow, look at these people that believe in God. They're so silly. You know, I don't really come at it like that. People are going to have their different interpretations. You know, when it suits them, they're going to say, God has done this to punish New Orleans. Yeah, when it's convenient for because of X, Y, Z, because of the gays or because of something, right? But when we do have these natural disasters during a period in which there's a fair amount of immorality going on, and I would, again, talk about those wars overseas, there's not really a whole lot of media figures to go, wow, God's punishing us for our imperialistic ways. So notice some people, and the Pat Robertsons of the world and others, will say God's involved in this, or God's talking to them, but yet we have things like this happening, and others, right? Like veteran suicides, other suicides, mental health issues within our country. And they're not able to see that something's wrong here. So I would say that, yes, we live in a world of confusion, a land of confusion like the Genesis song. In some cases, maybe it is manufactured. In some cases, it could be natural. In some cases, it could be something that we're not even thinking. Reality is not always as we think it is. Until the next video, I'm Alex Hansen reminding you the path to the ultimate truth and place of power still lies within.